We have on standby Bukola Idowu, who's the team lead KImpact Development Initiative. Bukola, many thanks for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this with us. Good morning to you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Good to be here.
All right, now, Bukola, first off, I would like to know what findings you had gathered from before the election day, and how this might impact voters' turnout, voter security, and any other factors that we're looking at.
Well, of course, just following the clip you just played now, where the governor have, confirmed to have voted. The same thing has happened in other places, according to what we have gotten from our observers. So elections have started in some other locations across the state. And it's also good to know that that's very encouraging, because that is what we call the early commencement of voting. So which means that for now, we still have minimal issue of late commencement of voting across the state. Of course, I'm not saying all the polling unit, 3,933 polling units have started voting, but I'm only saying that quite number of them have started voting, which is very, very good. Now, if there is any worry, those places that they've not started voting, maybe due to late arrival of material, these are the places I think we are encouraging the election management body to see what they can quickly do, because in our own analysis, that is what we call potential for violence, because when people get agitated, then it could lead to any other unrest. So we feel that as it is now, just after 9, everything looks good. Everything is going on smoothly as of now.
Bukola, let me ask you, right? We saw what happened at Ondo State, Edo State election, and KImpact, along with other election observers, put out a statement regarding the processes of that election. Is it too soon to say that INEC is prepared for this election? Is it too soon to ask whether or not INEC will offer a free and fair election for the state?
Well, I think it's too soon to conclude, though one of the things we said in our briefing yesterday was, if you look at in terms of preparation for this election, this is one of the elections in the recent time that INEC is well prepared for. But as it is, as we always know, every of the election, INEC is always prepared, logistic-wise, administratively, in terms of deployment, in terms of training of ad hoc staff, they are always prepared. It is when we get to the field that we begin to see some of the hiccups. And again, for us to know now, like I said, it's too early, but like I said, before we now begin to see patterns, most from experience, you have to get to up to 12 o'clock and up to then 2 o'clock, and those are the time when you have the heat of the election. Again, don't forget that people are coming out now. Some people may not even come out. They want to wait and say, okay, fine, let the crowd go for us. Or some people will want to say, okay, when you get to the place, call me if they have started. So it's too early to begin to judge. But however, we will now begin to match that preparation with the actual execution anytime is becoming, we are getting to 11 o'clock. And that is where you now begin to see. Because as at that time, any polling unit that have not started that time, it is clear indication of late commencement, logistic failure, when you now begin to have that. So we now begin to tabulate that and look at in how many polling units, in how many locations, ward or local government that has happened. And so that's why I said, well, it might be too early to conclude now, but until we see how things begin to shape when it comes to election around 11. And don't forget, in Ondo State too, you are able to see that, okay, though in some places, by the time it was 11, we saw clear late commencement of voting. And then by the time it got to the evening, when it comes to the results collation, then we start having issues and equal. And that was why all of us released that statement. So we are waiting. Of course, the INEC has promised that they have been able to, correct some of those things they saw in Edo. They have been able to dot the I's and cross the T's. So we are waiting, and we are with our checklist, and then we are ticking to see how the improvement is going to be.
Bukola, what were the I's and T's that was crossed and dotted for this election? You said that it seems that they're properly prepared given the last election with Ondo State, Edo State, I beg your pardon. What's the difference between the two, and why do we see this high level of preparedness this time?
So, number one, I think the ad hoc staff, let's start from the ad hoc staff. The ad hoc staff was trained for 13 weeks, unprecedented. No, 13 weeks of training for the ad hoc staff, most especially the coppers. Now, they also got staff from other INEC offices within the neighboring state. All of them were trained well ahead of this election. So when you look at that, it shows that, they are preparing. So what it means is that today we are not expecting to see any ad hoc staff that will not be properly be able to operate the beavers. We are not expecting to see ad hoc staff that will not understand the the election process. Today, we are not expecting that. Now, so that is on one ground. You look at the deployment of the police, top notch. So it looks like, they are prepared. They deployed early. And of course, they also deploy into local governments early enough. You heard the governor also said that, look, there are police there. I have gone out this morning. I have been to one or two polling units. In fact, in some instances, I saw security agency at the polling unit already. So, and this, when you now look at this, we look, the preparation on the part of the police are good. Then you come to INEC in terms of their deployment. Now, in some polling units, they deploy early now, and then the staffs are there. Now, look at the number of people who have been able to vote, even as of now. That is commendable. So when you look at that preparation in terms of deployment, movement of sensitive material to rack, at least is top notch. In fact, we have not even gotten any news from those difficult terrain, the riverine area, the rural difficult terrain. We've not gotten any negative news presently. Of course, they engage the military to also help them in that lifting of those sensitive material to those riverine area. So that is why I said, well, it looked like they prepared. And again, don't also forget, this is going to, this is just saying this on the lighter note. Maybe it's going to be a good parting gift from the chairman to us. This is likely going to be his last election, state governorship election. It's not expire next year. I'm not really sure he's going to conduct another election. So, we want to expect good election, and then where we can have good memories of this election. Basically.
Bukola, I want to say something so bad, but I'm just going to keep my mouth shut for the sake of
I'm wondering what it is.
No, please don't do that.
Okay,
don't
let's not. Let's not do this. But Bukola, so far, I want to say yes, it will be a great parting gift, just like you've put it. So far, you've said it's a pass mark for security, it's a pass mark for deployment, it's a pass mark for preparedness on the part of INEC. Now, let's talk about turnout. So far, yes, like you said, the heat gets on when we get closer to midday, so the heat is not yet on. We'll continue to watch out for that. However, when it comes to turnout, we see that in 2020 elections, the turnout was a turnout of 57.3% when it comes to that comparison to the total number of voters registered. This year, we have 1.7 registered voters. Let's see, we have new voters in the tens of thousands that we're hoping would come out. Regarding the turnout, what do you think when it comes to engagement versus apathy of voters? What percentage are we looking at this year from your research so far?
Yeah, so for what's one of the things we are predicting in this election is that the turnout is not going to be as high as the last election. So, and that is the truth. When you see people coming out this morning, most time that does not translate to higher turnout. And again, so because even if you have 50 people congregate in a particular place, you see crowd. So most time I tell people, don't use the crowd at the polling unit to judge and say the turnout is going to be high. We have almost the same thing in Edo, and then you look at the turnout. So, but if you now have to look at trend analysis of what the election has been, now from 2023 general election, 2023 general election happens to be, we have 26%, and happens to be the least so far in terms of voter turnout in the country. Then INEC has conducted 4 elections. This is the 5th election after the general election. So Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa, you know, and then Edo making 4. Ondo State is 5. So, but when you look at those 4 elections, you also have a decline in voter turnout. So it also shows that, look, I mean, this is a pattern that we are dealing with. And one of the things you need to know is that in those elections, including 2023 general election, money played a lot of roles. So which means you have economic hardship across the country in some places. At the end of the day, people are offering money for people to come out. That should be what will give you more, what should give us more assurance that people will turn out. At the end of the day, even with the vote buying, with incentive of that money, the turnout has been declining across board in those elections. So it shows that it is more than the apathy is more than the reason for the apathy is more than the incentive around the money. Now, it is around the trust on the process. Now, both of us we just said on a lighter note that we will keep our lip sealed and see and wait and see if this is going to be totally different. And that is the feeling everywhere. Now, we are only participating and we did not raise our hope high. But however, there are citizens out there who are not even participating at all. They said, look, I can't go and waste my time because the outcome have been determined by 3 set of institutions, the security agencies, the INEC, and the judiciary. So when you look at these people, they say, why am I going to waste my time? So that is the reason for some of this reduction in the turnout. But however, if we need to do a lot to still have to bring people out, we have to do a lot to restore the trust in the process. And then INEC, we have to do a lot to change the narrative about them and then see that, look, our election is credible, then the people we have trust, and we want to also always come out to vote. But with what we have seen, we are not predicting a high voter turnout. As a matter of fact, we don't see it surpassing the last voter turnout in the last election.
I'm still going to talk about the previous elections here. This time I'm going to talk about Governor Akeredolu's win from before. From that election, we see a landslide victory, especially when it comes to the Owo LGAs, and I think from Akoko as well. It was a big one because they actually embraced grassroots mobilization. Is that going to be any different this year, do you think? And I mean, what's the anticipation for the party? Are they hoping to maybe make this happen again? And what have they put in place that might ensure that this is the case?
So I think this election, well, this is my own personal opinion, contrary to what some people feel like, okay, it's going to be like a repeat of the last election contested by the late Governor Akeredolu. But I see it differently because Governor Akeredolu contested that election, but this one is a total, I mean, you have different balls. Number one, you find out that 2 leading candidates are from the same senatorial district, and which you don't even have in the last election. So you have them from the same senatorial district. So, and which means those 2 leading candidates are likely going to go to the central and the north to go and be jostling for votes. And that tells you that every one of them will do everything possible to get votes from these places. The second thing, again, is that you cannot actually say, for instance, if you go to the south, the APC candidate is from the south, the PDP candidate is also from the South. So who is the South supporting? Now, two narratives. If the South is supporting APC, for instance, there are this narrative that, look, if you support APC, they only have 4 years. Even if you win, they only have 4 years. So which means the governor, if he wins this election, might not be able to contest again. Okay, so leave that. So there is another narrative that, look, let's support PDP. If the man wins, there is tendency for the governorship seat to stay with us for 8 years in our senatorial district. So in that particular place, you cannot say it's going to be a walkover. So these two contending narratives are there. Then you now look at other zones.
Bukola.
Who are they supporting? Who do they want
Bukola.
to be? So these are the narrative here. So it's going to be highly contested.
But Bukola, I really want to continue this conversation, so I'm going to put a pin on it for now, because we're being informed that our correspondent, Wuchi, who is the chief of our Abuja bureau, and that's Amadin Uyi, is on standby to give us updates. Amadin, good morning to you and well done. Where are you and what's the latest?
Good morning, Judith.
Amadin, what's the latest with you? Where are you and what's the latest?
Okay, right now I'm at Obenla community, one of the communities in the Ilaje local government area. This is the community of the governor of Ondo State, Lucky Ayedatiwa. He's already come and vote, but hold on, before I give you more details of what transpired when he came, I have a gentleman who has already cast his vote. Let's first hear from him. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can we get to know your names and if you reside in this community?
Yeah, I am Pastor Oluwafemi Wariri Ayedatiwa. I am residing in this community.
Okay, can you tell us what the process has been like since you came? We saw you had already cast your vote.
I can see everything be peaceful, no problem. And I believe conclusively my brother will win the election.
Okay, there were worries about security for the poll. We want to know if it has largely been peaceful. Then also, when did the INEC officials arrive here?
Everybody is secured. No problem, the election is peaceful. No problem. Everybody is secured.
Thank you very much. Okay, you have heard him. We saw him earlier. He had cast his vote. Just like I said, this is the community of the Ondo State Governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa. He came approximately around 8:40 this morning. When he arrived, he first went to greet the traditional ruler who was in charge of this community, then immediately proceeded to go and cast his vote. So it took him approximately like 10 minutes, and he came out to speak to the press. Now, if you see the entire process, you see there are voters who are already on ground here. It's a small community, but one unique thing is that maybe because this is the community of the Ondo State Governor, we have seen a large turnout of voters. It's been largely peaceful. What we heard was that the INEC officials had arrived sometime late last night at the RAC centers, so the deployment to this community and other communities around the larger local government area was spot on. They were early. A lot of them came very early to begin their daily duties. Then also another thing we have observed, remember that the police had promised that there will be adequate security. When we came here, we cited police personnel already on ground trying to maintain some sort of law and order.
Well, Amadin, I must say thank you so much. You said that they've been maintaining law and order. And this is also the community of Lucky Ayedatiwa. I must ask about, the persons, the people as well. When speaking to them and them casting their votes, was it assured? Do you see this leaning to his favor, given that this is his polling unit?
Now, if you follow the politics of Ondo State, this is definitely one of the first times an Elijah's son is going for the ultimate position. So there is some sort of consensus, some sort of solidarity among the Elijah communities, among the riverine communities, because they do not have the numbers. So now their son is coming out for the #1 seat in Ondo State. Definitely, you know that they will rally around him. And so coming here, there's that excitement in the air. Talking to some of them, you feel that excitement that indeed one of their own is going to be occupying government house if the process goes as they hope for.
Well, but Ahmadine, I think Ajayi is also from a son of the soil as well. I'm wondering if there's any division, seeing that these are practically brothers who are vying for the same position. Does that dynamic play into what you're seeing there today?
Yeah, the dynamics is playing, but he's not from this particular community. I know that when you get to his own community, definitely you will see that his community will rally around him. But if you remember the interviews we conducted sometime yesterday, one particular respondent was telling us that this is the turn of the Elijahs. So the whole Elijah community are going to rally around the candidates. And he was speaking and talking to others, saying that he wants that all Elijahs were going to come out en masse to vote, and that they should shun any form of violence, because they know that the two front parties in the state is actually the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party. We know that there are other parties, but sometimes at this kind of elections, when you begin to place the parties side by side, you place the stronger parties and then the weaker parties. The PDP and the APC are the two parties to beat. The APC is occupying government house. The governor of the state is from APC, so definitely his people will rally around him.
Ahmadine, you actually took the words out of my mouth regarding the two prominent parties, APC and the PDP. But what about the other parties? How much favor is being shown by the voters for them, as you can see for now? And in the coming days to the elections, we also had the issue of the LP's candidate being disqualified, and then the communique from INEC regarding who is taking that place. How has this played into what you've seen so far today?
Manzini, in the build-up to these elections, you know the parties that are stronger. During the interview, you saw the interview with the governor after he had cast his vote. There was one statement which he said, which was very strategic and concise. He said that he was the only candidate among all the political parties that visited all the 18 local government areas of the state in the build-up to the election during the campaigns. So some sort of funds, your war chest, your deep pockets will play at this point in time. For a candidate to be rated as a frontline candidate, do you have that capacity to visit not just the 18 local government areas, but the communities in those local government areas? Because those are the people that are going to cast their votes. On our way to this community, this Obenla community, we passed several communities along the river. And how many people went to these communities to campaign? Because these are the people that are going to cast their votes. So for you to say that you are a frontline candidate, you must have proven by yourself that you have the capacity to visit all these communities to rally for votes. And that is why the governor stated very clearly that he was the only candidate that did not just visit the 18 local government areas, but he visited even the communities within the 18 local government areas. So that is what qualifies a party to be able to say that we are here for the elections, we are serious for the elections, and we are going to pull our weight despite the funds to ensure that we rally every important legitimate voters to cast their votes.
Well, Amadi, we must say thank you so much, and we'll definitely come back to you for more update. Amadi Uyide, our correspondent, and also the News Center's Abuja Bureau Chief, just giving us update from Ugbo Onla. That's, if I'm correct, that's the incumbent governor's polling unit. Once again, Amadi, many thanks to you. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, I'm from the south. I'm doing my best.
Hello, Judith, it is Obenla, not Ubonla. Ubonla was the community where we boarded the boats to this place.
Oh, there we go. See, thank you for that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Amadi. I appreciate you. You're the best. Thank you. We'll go back now, switch gears now as we bring Bukola Idowu. He is the team lead for KImpact Development. We're talking about just really the polls and the elections and whether or not INEC can deliver a free and fair election come this cycle. Bukola, many thanks. Let me come back to you. Bukola, are you there?
Okay, I'm sure we'll get him back. But something about what Amadine just mentioned, very interestingly. Now, we have these two frontliners who we've called brothers so far, two horse race, we've also referred to them as. However, there is that advantage that they have, which is the fact that they have performed as deputy governors. They are already popular. So it's the questions I'm trying to really get through or squeeze out of or milk out of our correspondent is how this popularity plays in the dynamic, because it doesn't seem like the other parties are having a good day when it comes to how they've been able to reach the people.
In terms of so concerned about this other parties.
Because I always like to always indicate that it's not just about these two major parties, you see. And where these guys, they couldn't have been governors from before, some of them are new parties. And with the way things have happened days leading up to the elections, you have to consider that these guys might have had a rough time themselves. I would like to hear more from them, is my point.
Right, okay. There we go. And I feel that there are two things here when we look at it, culturally. Number one is the fact that the way our politics is designed, you need money. Whether you like it or not, you need a lot of money. And that's why they have been clamoring, CSOs, other government officials, and also those who are stakeholders in the political terrain has said that they need to scale back in terms of the tickets, whether it's a candidacy for tickets, whether it's governorship or local government chairmanship at the grassroots level or at the state level or national level, because you need money to run elections in Nigeria. Point blank, period.
It's not just money, Judith. You also need a know-how of the people and the place, which is what they have as an advantage, because they've been governors or deputy governors from before. So they've run the grassroots.
No, hang on. So there's that as well, right? I'm not saying that that's not valid, right? But let's look at the other, the other candidates, right? And there's something Amadine said here. He said that Ayodatiwa said something. He said, I am the only candidate who has gone to all 18 local government areas and campaigned. That is money. That means he's gone on boats, he's been able to hire boats and been able to get his media team, his camera team, equipment across the water, riverine areas to get to the riverine communities to be able to campaign. So money is involved, right? There's a lot of money that goes into the terrain when it comes to, so for those smaller parties like Zenith Labour Party and all the other ABGA, there's a lot that needs to go in there. And also they need the door-to-door campaigning where, they go from one community to another, they go from one state to another, they go to the marketplaces. They also need those grassroots agents, which are, I would say, evangelists, to go and spread the gospel of their
I would like to ask our guest, Bukola Idowu, who we have back, Bukola Idowu from KImpact, is joining us again. Bukola, I don't know if you've been hearing our little argument here in the studio regarding the influence that the major parties have when it comes to the grassroots, and seeing that the grassroots is actually the most important factor here when it comes to the people actually placing their votes. The other parties don't seem to have that might, whether it's financial, whether it's popularity, that the two major parties have. So does this disenfranchise them? Is this an unfair battle, Bukola?
Well, I won't say it's unfair because this is the same way it is all over the world. I just came back from observing the US election, and you will be shocked the amount of money that went into the elections. For instance, it's in billions of dollars, and that is not to conduct the election in terms of campaigning. You see, and for instance, when you see someone like Elon Musk backing a candidate, it didn't give the person, it didn't give the candidate I mean, $30,000. So these are the people that spend money. So what am I driving at is this: election is financially consuming anywhere all over the world, and that is why you see, and that is why in fact, in some countries, it's the government that fund political party because it is a lot of money. So what am I trying to say is this: we can say it is unfair because they don't have the resources these people have. For instance, one, they don't have, some of them doesn't even have, states they control in terms of, except Labour Party that control only one state. You understand? PDP controls states, APC controls states. So, and probably they mobilize resources from those states, and those are the things. But you find out that Zenith Labour Party, Boots Party, NRM, all of them, then APGA also have a state. So this is what we have. Again, I don't know if you have seen our data. Our data shows that it is only APC and PDP that were able to deploy 100% polling agents in this election. The rest, in fact, you have 3 political parties who are not able to deploy any. They have 0 polling agent representation in this election. So others have 54. So you have 54 polling agents out of 3,933. So, and meanwhile, what it means is that to be able to deploy 3,933 party agents in all the polling units, you know what that means. Let's even say you are giving them 10,000 for that day. Multiply that by 3,933. That's a lot of money. So it's much more consuming. Then what about campaign? To even put an advert on a national TV, and you want to do it across 5 TV, you want to do it for a period of time, posters, billboard, is a lot of money. So if a party does it and you are not financially strong, then you are not likely going to go anywhere. Apart from that, see, let me tell you in practice, when politicians are preparing for election, they make 4 different kind of budgets. Anybody that is serious about election make different kind of budgets. Number 1, the budget for primaries. You know, a candidate will budget for primaries. Number 2, when you eventually get that ticket, you now budget for the campaign itself, the entire campaign itself. You budget for that campaign across the state. The one that we are saying is too expensive now. Okay, so after that, you now budget for election contingencies. So that election contingency is to deploy your agents. That is the election day spending, to deploy your agents. Is totally different from the money you use to campaign. So to deploy your agent across the polling unit, then in some instances that contingency include vote buying. So you budget for that. Then the last budget you have to make now is you budget for the judiciary, because you have to go to court, get senior advocate of Nigeria, get a lot of people, a lot of money to get CTC from the INEC, do photocopy to present it at the court. So it's a lot of money to conduct election.
It is strange that
one of the things you need to know is that it is financially consuming. We have to do something about it in the country. That is even on the part of the candidates.
Bukola, hang on a second, Bukola.
Billions of
hang on a second, Bukola.
To conduct this election is also a lot of money.
Just a second, Bukola.
Do something about this.
It is very strange that should actually make it into the list of what is required to go into an election process, when you have to actually have money on standby to go to the courts.
Unfortunately,
it seems like the court is actually what we're waiting for, and not INEC at this rate, because that's what seems to be happening here in Nigeria. But let's talk about perhaps maybe what you've observed so far leading up to the elections regarding campaigning, demography, and how, or the tools that were used to reach these people. In the past, we see a very heavy grassroots-oriented type of campaign. Now, as we're expecting new voters to come to the polls today, what tools were used? Did they use other platforms? Did they use perhaps maybe, and this is just a suggestion, was there use of social media, for instance, to try and get the younger demography? And are we seeing this play out today at all?
Yes, I think, for instance, the demography of the people that are likely going to. So when you first of all look at the breakdown of the voter register, you find out that the greater number of the demograph fall between 18 to maybe like 59 or thereabouts. So because I've been able to match from 18 to 59 together, then you now look at the adult people. But in all, you are looking at between the age of 40 to 50, they have the highest, 40 to 59 thereabout, they have the highest number on the voter register. Then you have the young people, followed by the young people, then followed by the elderly. But from experience, young people most times after 2011, you've not seen that that enthusiasm from them to come out to vote. So they have the numbers, but we have not been seeing much of them. Then we have been seeing that middle age, but from 35 and above, coming out to call, or 40, let me put it at 40, coming out to come and vote. So that demograph. So basically, this election need to be shaped by that demograph as it is. And that is why you find out that, and again, for us tracking their campaign spending and their campaign rhetorics and their campaign pattern, we found out that more was pushed on radio, more resources were pushed on radio, more resources was pushed into TV advert, more resources were put on posters and billboard, but they have less resources, not that they did not put, but they have less resources. I am not here with that data, but the data is saying they have less resources pushed on social media.
Okay, now let me stop you there.
So
let me stop you there.
Where their people are, they know where the voters are, and there are more resources to that.
Let me stop you there,
Bukola. I think that is going to, this demographic going to shape the election. But even if you look at the visuals on the screen, you can tell the kind of age grade that were there, that we have much on that particular place. So for us, we are keeping tab to see if there is any dynamics that will change.
Okay, Bukola,
in this election.
Bukola, you just touched on something very critical here. So I'm asking now, does this show any shift at all in the processes regarding campaigning for elections in Nigeria? Is there a certain subtle stubbornness by parties to embrace new media? Because that's where the greater proportion or population is at currently if you're trying to reach the youth. Has anything changed from the last election to this election, or is Nigeria moving backward instead?
So I think it's a backward trend, because if you look at the 2023 general election, they use the new media. And because the new, as I then, of course, you have a lot of first-time voters. You saw a lot of mobilization on the new media. You saw people contesting. You saw people contesting on the new media. You saw people trying to, you have different opinions on new media. And in fact, some people, that is where you now begin. Oh, it was on the new media that you start this conversation of obedient, bats, different names. So you have that on the new media. But after that, the other election, you have a drop. Now, let me tell you, when I say it's a backward trend, it was because most of the first time, you see, young people were mostly first-time voter in 2023. That was what the data says. Now, if they were so discouraged, they did not come out again. And we saw that trend in Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa, and Edo. So that drop is there. And then don't forget also, the political party also know that, look, their people are not on the social media. Let me give you an example. You and I that are so active on the social media are not going to come out and collect their 10,000 and collect their 5,000 naira. So they don't push more resources into that place because they believe you are more enlightened. So I give you an example. So when you come to this Ondo State, there are people in Akoko Northeast, Akoko Southwest, and in the area of maybe Ifira, Ishua, and all of them, they were not on social media, but they have huge votes. The people in Laje, some of the communities, some of the places where the votes will come from are not even on the social media. So these are the issues here. And again, one of the things you need to also understand is that until we deal with vote buying, people are not going to thoroughly be campaigning in this nation, because they feel, okay, let me give you from our research.
Right.
What it says is that, what the law says is that you have to start campaigning 150 days to the election and then stop campaigning 24 hours to the election. However, they started serious campaign in October, few weeks to the election. So maybe they want to conserve their resources. And at the same time, some of them feel that, why am I going to be campaigning on a higher landscape when I can pull the money and spend it on the election day? These are various narratives. But if you ask me, we sit down and have a national conversation about our election if we want to rebuild the trust, if we want it to be more credible and to be transparent, that nobody, irrespective of the party you are, will be able to win an election. We must have a national conversation around that.
Bukola, let's start that conversation now, shall we? And let me start by saying that you say that it's a backward trend, but I beg to differ in that narrative, because when you look at the elections from 2016 or 2015 that brought in the Muhammadu Buhari administration, the social media was used heavily, so much so that Cambridge Analytica was indicted on that election because of the analysis or the analytics that was giving, that helped in the campaign of bringing in Muhammadu Buhari's administration. Also, when you look at the current last cycle as well, you cited the obedient movement as well. We've also seen Atiku's campaign from 2018. So I mean, when you cite those things, I feel like with each election, the dynamics change in terms of what their target audience is, right? If that makes any sense. And so I think that it's not a backward trend. It just matters about what the election are, what the dynamics are. For Ondo State, the indigents are more. It's more about the indigents that are in the state. What is the media that they're familiar with, and what are they using? You know, so I think that, you know, if we can agree to disagree on that, but that's my opinion on that. But to the national discourse on the election and our mechanisms of the election, you talked about Mahmoud Yakubu's tenure being the chairman of the INEC body coming to an end, and this may be his goodwill, farewell gift for us. But we have to put into context what happened with the 2023 general elections. We have to put into context the mass failure of the Beavers and the IREV. We also have to put into context what happened during the coalition exercise of the elections. We have to put into context the voter apathy and the voter disenfranchisement, which we have now seen a steady decline of participation and trust deficit with the younger demography. If we're going to have a national discourse on restructuring our voter mechanism, what then would it be? And whoever is coming on as a chairman of the INEC, what would be your recommendations to rectify these issues, to have a foolproof or fail-proof electoral system?
Thank you very much for that thorough analysis. Anyway, when I said it was a backward trend, it was because, of course, I agree with you, and that is why I said it was a backward trend. I agree with you. You look at 2015, the Cambridge Analytica, what happened, then the 2023, 2019, 2023. Now, but are we sustaining it now? All the 5 elections that have been conducted now, we did not see that kind of movement more on the social media. Now, when you say, oh, it depends on those state people, the strategy that work. No, if you are looking at the national, then national comprises of the states. You know, the states, Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa, and then all of them make the national. All of them enjoy that Cambridge Analytica, in those years, all of them. So, but that thing should have been sustained. So why offline is going on, Online is going on. That is what we have seen. We will have seen that. So is it that, okay, there are no obedient Atiku people, all these, the people you call the data boys in all these states, what effect has that mean? Now, could it be they are more, discouraged now? That is why I use the word backward. Now, those things are there. They are, I mean, from the past, from the analysis you gave, excellent, but we need to do more. But in terms of this discussion we need to have, I think the first thing we need to look at, and this is where my fear is. My fear is who takes over from Yakubu is a big headache for anybody who is interested in credible election in this country. And we have a system at the moment. We have a system that you cannot actually say 100% we guarantee non-partisanship of whoever will be in that position. I give you an example. So let's isolate, please. Let's isolate Professor Jega. That is just an outlier. That one just works somehow. But this is what we are trying to say. You have, the law says the president should nominate or appoint.
Mm-hmm.
Let me use the word nominate. And then send it to the National Assembly, who will confirm. When the chairman is confirmed, then he takes over. The president will swear him in and then he takes over. Now, let's start from this way. The president who nominates is a member of a political party, contests under a political party. The people that will confirm that appointment at the National Assembly are all members of a political party. Even if the person chosen is partisan, the people that will speak against so far is in line with what the president wants and what his party wants, they have the majority in that house. So if you put it to voice vote, if you put it to voting, if the president party votes one way, they are going to win. So these are the issues. So what conversation should we be having? Should we be talking about an independent body or independent committee that is independent of any of those institutions that can choose for us who the INEC chairman and the national commissioners and the recs will be? Let's cast our mind back to Edo. You had, I don't know if you saw that interview that the rec in Edo did. Sometimes they say, oh, you people are saying I'm a cousin or nephew of a cousin of Wike. He said, and so what? Now, that alone, in some other country, the man will resign and say, okay, it looks like you've lost confidence in me because of my association or my relationship with this person. I am going to step aside. Let a neutral person conduct this election. It doesn't happen here. And election, let me tell you, 90% of election is about perception. The moment you get the perception wrong, then the election is not going to be credible.
Bukola.
So if people perceive that the umpire is already biased from the appointment, what else are you going to have? Opposition will go to the election and say, look, we know what they are going to do. So these are the issues. Right. We need to first of all start from the appointment in INEC. Right. And that is very key. If we don't get that right, every other thing, we are building on the faulty foundation.
And I hope we do get it right? Because we've seen this with Jega, we've seen this with Mahmoud Yakubu, and we do hope we get it right. But with a Senate that is solely behind from what we've seen and the body language from the Senate and also the legislature, it is solely behind the presidency. We hope to see some level of autonomy and independence when it comes to choosing and doing the right thing. We hope that they take the mantle and do the right thing for the sake of our democracy. But Bukola, this has been a very solid analysis. Many thanks for just joining us for the last 30 minutes and going very in-depth on just the elections and the road leading to election and what we hope to see for the electoral body for the nation. But once again, many thanks.